Hey, welcome to the podcast, John.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you.
Um, I'd like to introduce you to the audience with this question. Who do you say you
As far as um, I'm Johnny, and first and foremost, I'm a father, so, but also a musician and a.
1 minute. Are you covering up your mic by chance?
Possibly. How's that?
Yeah, that's much better. Gotcha. Sorry about that.
Well, first, I am a father and also a musician, but um, mostly a welding inspector and supervisor, but
That's
also
awesome.
an entrepreneur. So
Yep. That's been what is it? You've had the highs and lows of entrepreneurship recently, huh?
yeah, it's still panning out. So we'll see.
That's what's up. Well, fingers crossed for you. But I guess for anyone that doesn't know, let me stick to order. We'll come back to the entrepreneurship, but I
Yeah.
met you with your background in welding because you were one of the best welders I've ever met. Just wanted to give you that complimentary. It's been said, but seeing you as someone that's gone from like how did you get into welding? How did you decide like this would be the thing to become a welder and now a welding inspector?
Um, well, I was sitting at my desk in front of a computer when I was dating my now ex-wife, and I hated my job as a estate planner, financial planner, and literally Googled highest paying jobs in America.
Mhm.
It was first was I think it was doctor, then lawyer, then number three was welding inspector. So 2 weeks later, I was enrolled in welding school, and to be a welding inspector, to take the test, you have to have 5 years experience in the field before you can even apply to take the test. So yeah, that's what got me into it. A girl. It was just I hated my job, and I like working with my hands, and I wanted something that well, I was in front of the computer and um, had the idea to uh, actually ask her to marry me. Like this is the one, she's the one, and um, so yeah,
I guess
needed
how'd you land
needed
in?
a job that would pay enough. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you were getting the job in order to secure the girl, or just make sure that you had all your ducks in a row?
No, not to secure the girl. We were already secure. Just if we had kids one day, which we did,
Mhm.
everybody would be financially secure.
That's good forward thinking.
Didn't work out as far as the marriage, but we got three great kids out of it. So
Yeah. And I guess how did you come to even being an estate planner? Like I guess that's a
that
big.
my dad was a banker for 30 years and
Okay.
CFO, and between when he started and when he left the banking, there's just so many different banks that would merge, and you'd have to go to a different bank. And generally, banks only need one CFO. So eventually, by the time I was a freshman in high school, he was like, "All right, I've had a no, no, no." I was a junior in high school. He's basically told himself, "I had enough of this. I'm going to go out on my own and do my own thing." And luckily, at that time, my mom just started her nurse practitioner, so she could keep the family afloat and bills paid while my dad did his entrepreneurial thing. And um, at one point, I it was my dad, my brother-in-law, and me and I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. So
Got you. Was it like not necessarily the family aspect, but just like the work being behind a computer most of the time?
uh it was it was a lot of things, but mainly I didn't like my brother-in-law,
Mhm.
and he's younger than me, and I didn't want to work with him for the rest of my life. So
Yeah, that's a tough thing. But I guess since then you make the transition into welding. You decide to not only um, pursue it, but go ahead and get your years of experience through that. Like what was that venture like for you?
it was starting at the bottom, starting at that first rung, starting at the bottom of the ladder and working my way up. Started my first job when I was still in welding school. I hadn't graduated yet, and yeah, starting from ground zero and working my way up, and it's paid off. Now I live in Nashville, and um, the company I work for is about to merge with another company, and that company is going to, the one that's merging, they're going to have majority. The one that's buying us, or just merging anyway, they're not necessarily buying us, but they are. I mean, I guess in a way they are. I don't know. They're going to invest 10 million in our company, so
Wow.
well, that'll help everybody out with um, pays. Everybody's going to get raises and new equipment, and it's going to be great for the shop and all of that. But I left. I didn't. I wasn't in the inner circle on that information that merge was happening,
Mhm.
and so I left to go work another job. I wanted to come back, but I went to go work a union job,
Mhm.
temporary shutdown. But I was gonna be gone for a couple months, so I didn't even know if they'd let me come back. But
Mhm.
they called me the first day I was on that job,
Mhm.
and my boss was telling me this or that, and I'm like, well, I got to break it to you. I'm kind of told him what I was doing because I had to go take a welding test to get on that job. I didn't know if I was going to pass a welding test, and so a couple hours
Mhm.
after I passed the welding test, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm
Right.
going to do the job. And he called me. I'm like, I gotta let you know, I'm not going to be back for a month or two. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, you did kind of sort of tell me that in a way a couple weeks ago. He's like, let me talk to the owner if I can tell you about what's going on behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And so the next day we talked, he did. He's like, "We really need you back because they want to make me shop foreman and supervisor over everything at the shop, and with the
Yeah.
merge, they need someone." So I mean, I in the last decade, I started welding very late, and
Mhm.
I didn't. My first time I ever arced was probably 32,
Mhm.
and so yeah, just a decade ago. So I got in the game very late, but over the past 10 years, I've gotten a lot of experience, and it's paying off finally. Granted, Nashville is a very expensive place to live. Um,
Mhm.
so I took a pay cut to work with this company. It's a family owned company to hopefully be a part of the growth over the next 25 years.
Wow. I I guess what's that like starting 10 years ago and really starting from the bottom, like coming from the space where you came from doing the family business and then saying, okay, I'm going to go do welding, but now I've got to start basically as a grunt and like even be a helper at times and things like that. And now you're at this level where you can kind of know the goings on of what's going on with the company going through a merger.
It's interesting. I mean, I went to college for audio production engineering, and when I graduated, around the time I graduated, I decided that's not what I want to do. So, just like anyone in life, I don't know. There's a lot of people that graduate high school and have no idea what they want to do. Some people do, and then life happens, and you
Yeah.
decide that's not what you want to do, and you do a career change. And I did that. I've done that a couple of times. And I'm kind of doing it again right now. if the app is successful. But if it is, I will walk away from welding. But if it's not, I have a safety net. But starting from the bottom up in the welding industry was tough, especially with the pay at first. When I started, we were my ex-wife and I were pregnant with our first kid, so it was a challenge financially. But
Yeah.
it was basically, it came down to, I have always had a good work ethic because my dad, when I graduated high school, he told me, he said, John, no matter what you do in life,
Mhm.
always do your best and work hard. Eventually, someone will notice. And that was ingrained in my brain. Excuse me, that was ingrained in my brain. I never forgot it. I don't know why. So I always
Mhm.
kept that type of mentality when I was on a job, and I've worked numerous jobs. And some places, you are just a number. Um,
Mhm.
they don't care how hard you work. They care when you don't work. You're not doing your job, but if you do go above and
Yeah.
beyond, they could care less. But in the welding industry, they really notice. They have schedules. They have overhead that they don't want to spend, and so it definitely got noticed there. And I climbed the ladder pretty quick in the
Yeah.
welding industry because of my work ethic. I mean, my parents
Yeah.
were great models, so um, that just kind of stuck with me. So that was kind of the root of it, just having a good work ethic.
That's awesome. And I guess it just seems like that, just having that hard work ethic and just being willing to do the job, even in the suck. It's very common among guys that are in the trades and people that even pick up those types of jobs. Because I remember my first job out of college was a technician doing non-destructive engineering or non-destructive testing work. And a lot of people, like some people, one guy in particular, I remember he graduated with an art degree. And this was right after like 2008 housing market crashed. A lot of jobs and things weren't available. So
Mhm.
people that owned their own company, people that had different backgrounds that had nothing to do with like industrial engineering or construction engineering found themselves in these positions because it's like the work's always available. You just have to have people willing and capable of doing it and that are diligent to say, okay, we're going to do the hard work, even if it sucks for a while. But to your point, like people definitely notice. And I think
No,
over 4 years of working with you or working around you, I was like, your name would always come up in a positive light.
yeah, until the end when management changed. And one superintendent left and the other one came in, and man, he did not like me. The first one liked me and promoted me to weld supervisor. But after he retired and his replacement came in, oh, that man did not like me. And eventually I got bumped down back to welder, and like, all right, fine. That's how it's just. So it's good and bad. I mean, the pay for what we are doing in the union at that particular job was great. Never made that much money in my life. But I'm kind of on the transition because what I'm doing now is non-union with this company, and
Yeah.
I just, I mean, I don't like it. In general, I mean, a lot of these things, a lot of the work done with the union work is shut down, so it's temporary. You're in, you're out. It's unlike Vogel, that was a long job. They're actually loading fuel. Did you read about that? But
For the second one or the first one?
for Unit 3,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That's exciting.
But regardless, I just that at least I won't ever work for that company again. But
Mhm.
I met a lot of great people in the union. I met a lot of people I'll never hopefully talk to again. But I mean, you know what I mean. You worked around
Yeah.
all these people, but I don't know. It's give and a take. You got to take the good with the bad. So
Yeah. And now I guess moving on to your new venture, like I think we kind of talked about it earlier. So tell me a little bit about that going into the entrepreneurship route like your dad and taking your own spin on it.
Well, yeah. So I'm making a mobile app for a phone, and the point of the app for someone to download it is to connect with either a recipient or a donor. That is a sperm donor. Um, After my divorce, some time went by, but then I began being a donor. So I'm living it still to this day, still donating. And majority of the women I work with are lesbians, but not all of them. Some of them are single women. Some of them are married to a guy. Um, my last success was with a married couple. The husband had a vasectomy. So yeah, um, and it's kind of a lot of people don't know about it. Most everybody thinks about sperm banks. They don't even know about this option. There are websites that do this. There was one other app. I just saw another one that came out. The original app came out in 17 is just so crappy. So it was really my inspiration to do a good one. It's basically just a rip off of Tinder. You swipe left or right on a profile, and then you can message each other. That's it. It
Yeah.
just connects people. The core of my app is gonna be educational, because when I started doing this, I was I had no idea. There's an etiquette to it,
Mhm.
you know, and there's also a
Yeah.
wrong and a right way to do it with inseminating. And I was kind of in shock with how little majority of the women I work with knew about their own body. Um, Dealing with mainly with ovulation.
Mhm.
I've kind of by default I've become a ovulation advisor for a lot of women. So, but you know, I'm not a doctor or anything, and so um, the app is. I hired a company to make the app to code it, and I first contracted them in January of 2020,
Mhm.
and it's in the Android store right now. There's still some glitches on it. Android has not uh, updated the or approved the updates to fix those glitches yet. But
Mhm.
you can find it in that store. But Apple, I've been going back and forth with Apple for months, probably 6 months by now. They keep nitpicking it, this and that. They're not okay with, and they're whatever, because it's kind of taboo. It's
Yeah. I mean,
you know,
how'd you
Facebook
decide
groups
on
for it as well. Decide to do the app or to donate.
to both? Well, I mean, I guess you kind of explained the app part, but I guess like just going the route of donating, like what kind of like spurred you on to be like, hey, this could be a good thing I could do.
Well, after my divorce, I was a mess, kind of. And I never really said this out loud. I get asked by recipients, "Oh, why'd you start donating?"
Mhm.
And I'll tell them my little generic answer. But um, my divorce was the hardest thing I've ever done in my
Mhm.
life. Emotional mess. She divorced me, but we had 3 kids. And one of our
Mhm.
kids, the youngest, was a newborn. And I was a mess. I lost 18 pounds. And I don't have 18 pounds to lose. So, um, you know how big I am. Not
Right, right. I was like, that's not a good look for you.
I've never in my life been overweight. So yeah, it was bad. But regardless, so I don't know. I really don't know how it first popped in my head. I mean, I think after the divorce, some time went by, and then I was like, I guess I'll start dating again. Uh,
Mhm.
got on some dating apps, and I guess I was just daydreaming about it one day, and I was like, God, it could be years before I meet someone, because I wanted another kid. My ex and I talked about having a fourth. I don't know why. It's not like we're getting along, but um,
Mhm.
uh, like, it could be years before I actually meet somebody I like, or that I would even want to marry, and then you know even years past that before I we actually have a kid together. This could never happen, you know.
Mhm.
So I Googled like
Yeah.
sperm banks, and the cutoff age for sperm banks is 38 for guys. And I was 38 at the time. So I'm like, I'm not even going to mess with the application process to donate a handful of times, whatever. Like, whatever. Again, in a Google
Mhm.
search, Google's changed my life in this results. But I found a website that did it, and that's how I met my first recipient couple that I work with. That
Mhm.
was successful. And that little boy just turned 3
Mhm.
this month. And regardless of that, there's another forum I found in the search, and someone is like a Craigslist. It was very shady.
Mhm.
Just really like Craigslist just for that. Someone posted in there like there were Facebook groups for this. Why are y'all even in here? This is so janky, shady. And
Mhm.
so I searched on Facebook, didn't find anything, and um, yeah, and then a couple more months went by, and I saw it again in the forum, and that's where the forum is where I met my second success.
Mhm.
Uh, but and then so I searched again. I guess I didn't use the right words, and then bam, there's a bunch of groups that popped up. I joined them, saw they worked, and
Mhm.
eventually made a post with a picture of myself. And oh my god, after I posted that picture, I'm photogenic. Granted, this is part of my Halloween costume. I need to shave it off, but I'm pretty photogenic. And wow, my inbox blew up after that post because there are lots of people. There are when I joined that one particular group in Facebook, there was already
Mhm.
over 10,000 people in it, and
Oh wow.
uh, so anyway, so then I was overwhelmed because the ratio in a lot of these groups is like 8 to 8. For like every 10 recipients, there's 2 donors. It's
Mhm.
really biased. It's like 80-20%. Anyway,
Wow.
uh, it's really a lot of donors are overwhelmed, but um, the founder of that group eventually started talking to when I decided I was going to do the app
Mhm.
because now there's already 40 in the group, that particular group. There's over, no, wait, I'm getting my numbers wrong.
Mhm.
There's over, I think there's over 30,000 people in it now, but we're going to
Wow.
use it um, to promote. I talked to him, and now he's my co-founder for the app. He's invested
Mhm.
money for the cost of the app and all that. So, um, yeah, we're going to use Facebook group because he has multiple other Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Kind of using the idea with that Google uses when you search something and a word pops up. It's kind of he's using the same thing, making other groups. But a
Mhm.
lot of the people are in all the groups. But regardless, it's heavily moderated the groups, and because I mean, just like anything, like
Mhm.
Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok, whatever, or even the dating apps, there are
Yeah.
scammers. All I mean is that my app is going to have to be heavily moderated as well because mine will have a feed similar to Facebook where people can post on it, comment, like, all of that, connect that way.
Mhm.
Um, and there's gonna be people that want to take advantage of that. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be a big tough part of it is that. And um, I recently watched a show on Netflix called The Playlist. It's about Spotify. I don't know if you
Mhm.
caught it.
No,
Um,
I haven't caught anything in a minute.
it's pretty cool. I don't know if it's how literally. I'm sure they kind of went around the corners with some of what actually happened, and
Mhm.
it isn't like documented. Obviously, I mean it has actors and all that are doing the show, but um, yeah, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and all they were doing was a website at the time.
Mhm.
Um, so,
Millions of dollars spent, or
huh?
they spent millions of dollars like for Spotify just to get it up and running and going.
Get it up and
Like,
running the way they wanted it. Yeah, and at
gotcha.
that time when it was happening, all of the music pirating was going on in the record labels, and all the lawsuits and all that stuff was happening right when they were doing it. So they had a really tough go getting the rights to the music with the record companies. It took them years. And
Yeah.
over that time, they spent tens of millions of dollars, but they had investors. Um, and so, well, as soon as Apple approves my app, I'm going to start shopping around to investors to try and scale.
Gotcha. So I guess what's the, like you said, the donor to recipient ratio is like extreme. So for you, like part of the motivation was like having the idea of still having another child and just
Yeah.
not that being an option, being divorced. And with like the donors that you've met, is a lot of them is really just wanting to have a family, wanting to be able to raise kids of their own.
Yeah. I mean, prior to my marriage and divorce, I would have probably never been a donor. I would have never even weighed that as an option.
Mhm.
But I was kind of forced into it with my divorce, not being a donor, but kind of just breaking my frame of mind with it. My own kids, I wasn't gonna be able to see on a daily basis. That was what was
Mhm.
so emotional for me with the
Yeah.
divorce. Why I was such an emotional wreck
Mhm.
was I'm not going to see my own kids on a daily basis. I'm not going to be able to give them a
Mhm.
hug and play with them and see them in person daily. It,
Right.
it just messed me up, but I was forced into it by
Mhm.
law with the
Mhm.
divorce. Um, so it kind of set me up to have a more open mind about the whole
Mhm.
situation as far as donating to a woman or a couple and not being a part of that child's life. I mean, there are anonymous donors out there, but that's a
Mhm.
deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
In this world outside of the sperm banks, as being a sperm donor, you can make your own rules. And I have my minimum as a donor that I copy
Mhm.
paste to any recipient that messages me that's interested, and either they're okay with it or they're not.
Mhm.
And um, if what they're looking for is an anonymous donor to just
Yeah.
donate, get pregnant, and then never talk to them again, that's not me.
Mhm.
Sorry, but wish you luck. We're not going to
Yeah.
work together.
Right.
Um, so there's a lot of conversation that has to go on between the two of us. And I'm sorry, I go off on rants,
No, no, no,
but
you're good.
um, but no, so yeah, I would have never done this or before, but I don't know. It's it's something that a lot of people don't think about. I mean, obviously, when the kids are 18, they're adults; they can do whatever they want. And I do keep in
Mhm.
touch with all of my recipients.
Mhm.
I made a private Facebook group for all of them and their spouse to join, so everybody
Mhm.
knows who everybody is.
Yeah.
Um, None of the kids grow up and don't and accidentally date each other is highly extremely unlikely for that. The odds for that to happen was just outlandish. Just like winning the Powerball, but eventually somebody wins the Powerball. So I guess it's odds could potentially happen, but so everybody knows everybody. They generally friend each other. I mean, I've had some that get the kids together and go on play dates. It's crazy. I never would imagine that would happen, but so and I've met about four of my donation kids in person. Got a picture with them, and the others that I can meet as well. They were but others that they're only okay with my minimum as a donor, and
Mhm.
they okay with me meeting them either when they're 18 or someone's like you can meet them when they start asking questions, especially
Mhm.
when they have two moms, and
Yeah.
kids are asking questions a lot sooner than 18 these days.
Right.
So yeah, it's but I'm friends with Facebook on Facebook with them. So if they post a picture of the child, I see it. So I do get to see the child growing up from the outside, and
Yeah.
which is great. And sometimes some of them do send me pictures just because.
Mhm.
Um, so um, I do have one that sends me pictures all the time, and she's like, "You can come see us whenever you want." She's just
Yeah.
to the moon grateful for the opportunity. She's a lesbian, and
Yeah.
so and she wants to do more. with me. So I mean, she's
Yeah,
just very extremely grateful, and she goes way out of her way to show her appreciation. So, um, but yeah, I think I roundabout answered your question and a few others.
yeah. That's pretty cool. I guess with that, so like you wanted to have one more, but now you obviously have more than just four kids. And like as you continue to donate and have success, you'll continue to have more kids. So is your main intent to um, have as many kids as you can, or supply whoever needs help with being able to have their kids of their own?
No, I'm very picky. I get a lot of messages and I talk to countless women, and I only actually donate to a fraction of them. I'm pretty picky about who I donate to, and but I mean, no, I'm gonna have a cutoff. I do know some donors out there that have over 100 kids.
Oh,
I'm nowhere, absolutely nowhere near that. I am double digits, but no.
mm,
I'm very, very, very. I mean, I'm a successful donor,
yeah.
but there's some women I work with that we were not successful. We tried multiple times.
Mm,
Sometimes two people really struggle to conceive, whether it be blood types or just genetics or bad timing.
mm,
Or some of the women I work with have serious fertility issues.
mm,
Obviously, I still can make kids. Not going to tell you my number, but I mean, that was one way I was actually able to start and have women even work with me, was that I already had 3 kids. I
mm.
proved I can make kids.
Right.
But if you don't have kids, getting into this world as a donor, you would have to go get a sperm analysis, which I
Mm,
did do a couple years after I started, just for the heck of it, just to see where I
yeah.
was. And I'm not some crazy numbers above. I'm above average, but
Mm,
I do notice when I am working out regularly, I do have more successes and a meaning great. I mean, as a lifestyle change as a donor, I had to start eating clean. I had to start
mm,
working out. I had to stop drinking beer on a daily basis.
mm,
This is a lifestyle change because there are these women that are, depending on you. And,
mm,
um, if you're out not getting enough sleep, multitude of things. I can't, I take lukewarm shower, no hot seats, no hot tubs. It's
mm.
not good for that. So there's lots of things that go with male fertility, and I mean, I spend like $200 in supplements on a monthly basis. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
and but no, I don't. I'm just going to eventually be in a relationship with someone that's not cool with me doing that, and I'll
Mm,
stop. But
yeah.
so far in my dating life, just that not that I am a donor, but that I have donated has
Mm,
generally been a deal breaker for most women I date in my personal life, which
mm.
is understandable.
Right.
I'm kind of numb to it and like, oh, really? Okay, well, sorry, I'm not interested really anymore. But I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine. I knew that going into it. I mean, I thought about this when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
That was one of my thoughts that kind of almost taught me out of even starting to do this. Was like, in my personal dating life, these women aren't going to be cool with this. Like,
Mm,
but I like, oh, then they're not the one. They're not
mm.
open minded. They're not, but I don't know. It's
Gotcha.
not something I tell them on the first date. If we even
Right.
get to if we even get to a second date, then
Right.
I might tell them then, or third or fourth, somewhere in there.
Gotcha. I was gonna ask you, I was gonna be like, well, is that like
Yeah.
a first date conversation? Just,
No,
hey, by the
I don't.
way, this I'm a supplementary sperm bank, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. No, it's not. I don't come out the gate with that.
Gotcha. And I guess like being a donor and working with recipients directly, do you have to deal with the sperm bank in any kind of way, or guess based on what you guys agree to and how things play out, that's
No,
how you
I
just
mean we could talk for a long time on that. There are some states that don't have laws for this at all yet, and even with that, there's no federal law for this. It kind of falls under the umbrella of, child support and um, um, visitation and all those things. A big deterrent for either one of those either party to go that route is if the donor wants to see a kid, he's got to pay child support. And if the recipient wants to try and get child support out the donor, then they have to give the kid, give the donor a visitation, or the right to see the kid. But there are also states, if the recipient, the woman, uh, applies for state assistance financially. They're not all states, but some states, and I do know some donors personally that are paying child support because of this. If they apply for state assistance, the state will go after the biological father for child support. It's not like that here in Tennessee, but it is like that in Oklahoma. I know that in some other states as well.
Gotcha.
So there's things like that, but no sperm bank. No, I do get tested about every 5 months, which again, that's an extra thing I do now. I did not do before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got to prove your health. I never did a genetic test, but not that if I was dating someone in real life, oh, can I see your genetic test? Yeah. So, I mean, it is a gamble in a way, to a degree so far.
Yeah.
But
I guess what's the genetic test do? Is that just to kind of avoid lining up too much to where like you happen to meet someone that you might be like related to that you didn't know
oh
about?
no, I've done my ancestry test. I have
Okay.
that too. I know my ancestry thing. The genetic test is a test you do if you carry any genetic disease, from your lineage. They can test you on that.
Right. Oh wow. I guess that's a big liability thing, especially if it's like you want to make sure you're clear up front. Potentially. I mean, it's like
Well,
there's no telling, but at least you're
yeah,
doing everything
no,
you can to kind of like cross your T's and dot your I's.
yeah, yeah. So, that's something the sperm banks do. But there's a big controversy going on with sperm banks as well as them using donor sperm more than what's written on the contract that the donor signs. There are numerous cases of um, donor kids from a sperm bank
Mhm.
finding their father through the DNA testing, like ancestry.com or 23andMe. They can
Mhm.
see, who your father is, who your parents are, and any
Yeah.
other blood relatives. They can see that. And I think that there was one donor on the West Coast who donated in college, and now all his kids are in college, all his donation kids, and they
Mhm.
keep popping up. A lot more of them than what he thought he donated to, and he's actually suing the sperm bank. So
Oh wow.
yeah, and there's also another. Now it's in Netflix. It's on Netflix now. It's called Our Father. It's a
I think
documentary
I heard of
movie.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, where the actual doctor at the fertility clinic used his own sperm to
Mhm.
impregnate women,
Wow.
and so that's kind of weird as well. So it's a big part with the recipients that I do work with. They really want to know more about me,
Mhm.
and in case the kid ever asks questions, they really would like the opportunity or the option to talk to
Mhm.
me and have me meet the child or me talk to the child or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
not all of them want an anonymous donor. Some of them want a more personal. And I've made some great friends with my recipients.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess it's like the old saying, it really does take a village to raise a child, or at this point it's like to even just create a child.
It's pretty wild. I mean, there are but good and bad things with what I've as a donor, what I've done. I don't know.
Have you had any negative experiences or
Oh yeah, I had one drag my name in the Facebook group through the mud. But that's a long story.
Gotcha. Anybody
So,
back you? They were like, no, that's not true.
oh yeah, all my recipients. Yeah, there's a recipient I work with, and her mom. I mean, not her mom. Her wife and her broke up, and we were friends on Facebook.
Mm,
And she, I don't know, it was ridiculous. And after that, she started dancing, or rather stripping,
mm,
and
mm,
we matched back and forth a couple times. And I think she was just trying to make me look bad because then her and her wife got back together, and
mm.
and she went all out there talking trash. But I've seen it happen to numerous other donors in the group as well. So that made me feel better that I'm not the only one. So
Gotcha.
not
There's not
from her, but from other
right,
recipients. Yeah,
not necessarily personal. Like when someone just decides to go on fornicate. I guess it's kind of like it goes with the territory, especially you talk about like social media or just people feeling however they might feel. It's like regardless if you're talking about donors and recipients or like a Twitter beef or something, like somebody's always got something to be upset about.
definitely. Absolutely. She even messaged my sister. I was just like in shock.
Mm,
She really went all out. It was very vindictive.
mm,
Um, it was kind of scary, and I was very glad I was not successful with her.
mm.
So yeah,
Gotcha. Oh yeah, that would have made for a strange dynamic.
yeah.
But I guess since all of this is kind of launched off for you, like what's life been like with your family, like being able to connect with them like post divorce.
Well, my ex moved from Georgia to Kentucky. That's why I moved
Mm,
to Tennessee. They're just an hour north of me.
mm,
I had to follow them, um, and because my kids are young right
mm,
now, they're 8, 6, and 4. So I was gonna miss out staying in Georgia. So I
mm,
moved up here just to be closer. And right now, my ex works on weekends. So because she had a child with her current boyfriend, so she
mm,
has an even younger one, and so she can't work during the week. She has to stay home with the two youngest kids of the four.
right.
And um, so um, it's actually been great. My ex and I get along phenomenally. As co-parents, I couldn't ask for a better co-parent. We weren't the best husband and wife, but we
Mm,
haven't gotten any argument in like 2 years of
wow.
not one single disagreement in like 2 years. We just do it for the kids. It's been
Mm,
absolutely amazing. And she's a great mother. So I couldn't ask for a better situation with her, aside from us, living closer and maybe on, drive time, go back and forth.
mm,
But it's better than meeting halfway in Chattanooga between Georgia and Nashville. Definitely better. But I basically have my kids every weekend. So
wow,
it's been awesome.
that's awesome. I guess would can you point to anything that like changed once I guess you guys are able to now like communicate and not having a fight for 2 years, that's a significant amount of time.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know at first. It took a while,
Mhm,
but I did notice at one point, she just kind of out of nowhere started being nice to me. Because
mm,
after the divorce, she's pretty bitter. Both of us.
mm,
She said some pretty spiteful things, and I would be spiteful right back. I weren't married anymore. I
mm,
didn't have to be nice.
right.
So, um, yeah. And I knew about her boyfriend right after the divorce. So,
Mm,
regardless of that, I backtracked it to the time. It's like when she started being nice to me, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like wow. It's kind of like a eureka moment. Like, oh, I get it. It was
mm,
when she got pregnant. She started being
mm,
nice. I don't know if she felt guilty or what, or just because it was a surprise with
mm,
her fourth kid uh, for her and him. But yeah, so yeah, then
right.
she got pregnant, and that was when she started being nice, and I was nice back. If someone was nice to me, I'd be nice back. But
Mm.
yeah.
So I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So I guess that as you look forward to like the year wrapping up and just what 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 comes next, like what are you what's something you're looking forward to kind of like wrap up the year?
Apple to approve the app. That would be phenomenal. I'm just kind of in a waiting mode now. I don't want to shop for investors. I don't want to pursue anything else with the app. Nothing. I just stand still and wait and wait. It's a waiting game.
Yeah.
It's it's been horrible. But that, and also by the end of the year, the merge with this other company should hopefully be final. And um, we're already going to start the process with me running the shop probably in the
Mhm.
next week or two.
Yeah.
Because the guy who's running right now wants to transition to a project manager
Mhm.
and step away from the shop completely. He's not even the shop foreman. He's just kind of running it. He already is a project manager, but there is no foreman or supervisor for the shop.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird dynamic. When I came in there, I didn't really understand it. But
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that with the merge, and
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty exciting at the company to have more opportunities to grow. Absolutely.
That's awesome. And I wish you the best in that. And just for people that don't know, like, what is the app called, and how can they get more information about it?
Oh yeah, I never said that. Big Fat Positive is the name of the app.
Mhm.
You just have to search that in any of the app stores on Google or Apple once it's approved. Or you can go to bfpnow.com. That'll basically take you to the app store. Or just some information's there, but it's basically going to direct you to the app store and tell you to go there.
Mhm.
B as in boy, F as in foxtrot, P as in papa.
Mhm.
Now, bfpnow.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time, John. Thank you so much for doing this. Glad we could reconnect and get things worked out scheduling wise.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think this is a better talk than last time anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all the luck with the end of the year. Just hope things wrap up well, and fingers crossed that app gets approved and
Absolutely.
more and more things to look forward to.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Asher.
Yes, sir.